Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CB Nostalgia and we got a bit of an update on X-Men 97. Well, as many of you know, one of the biggest bits of news in the last year was the fact that Marvel Studios and Disney are reviving the classic X-Men animated series from back in the 90s. Now, we don't have a lot of details about the show, but recently, the head writer, Beau DeMayo, sat down with the direct and gave us a lot of interesting quotes about the upcoming series. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about what he said will be the same, what will be different, and more interestingly, what he said about Canon. That is the big question. Now, before we dive in though, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. Also, the big giveaway. We're going to give away this Oculus Quest 2 at 50,000 subscribers. All you need to do to get in on the giveaway is be a subscriber and leave us a comment. Well, like we were saying, the X-Men the Animated Series is returning to Disney Plus as X-Men 97. It was a massive hit in the 1990s and considered by many to be one of the best superhero cartoons of all time. Now, we do know it got a 10-episode order, at least for the first season, and is due to hit Disney Plus sometime in 2023, but we don't have any more details there. Now, recently, the head writer of the show, Beau DeMayo, sat down with the team over at the Direct. They talked a little bit about the show, what they maintain to keep the same, what's going to be different, and even a little bit about the Marvel canonical status. Now, the more Mr. DeMayo talks about what he's keeping the same, the more excited I get. He had a couple of interesting quotes on how they were going to maintain that in the show. He said, quote, "There is such an earnestness to all the characters. Everyone's emotions are on full display. The challenge to me was honoring that earnestness and emotional sincerity." Now, I have to totally agree. This is what totally held the show together in the past, and he actually refers to it as the secret sauce that he hopes to replicate in the upcoming series. Throughout the seasons of that show, we really got to know those characters really well, and what made them tick. They made us care, and it sounds like that's totally being recognized in the new series. Now, when he asked how the new series was different than the original, he did have a rather interesting quote there. And once again, he did tip his hat to the original show. He said, "I don't know if improve would be the word I would use. I think that show is amazing in so many different ways. I think what I would say is that the generation who grew up watching that show, we have grown up. And the world is a very different place than when that show was first made." Now, I actually totally agree with him, but interestingly enough, this is what makes X-Men stories often work. They do reflect real-world social issues, typically dealing with race and diversity, and many of those issues are still impacting society today as much as they were, or even more than they were back in the 1990s. This should make an X-Men narrative work very well within the series. Now, he did tease us a little bit about the canonical status of this show, and I have to say, Mr. DeMayo has mastered the Marvel shuffle and dance here. When asked if the revival would be canon to the MCU, his response was pretty interesting. He said, "The one thing I can say towards this is, I know sometimes we say no comment, and it's like they're just being obstinate. I'm going to go with no comment here because part of the surprise will be finding out when you experience the show." Now, that clearly was not a no, but it wasn't a yes, and given the aspects of the multiverse that are playing into the MCU and Phase 4, it is a pretty interesting way to answer the question. Now, if you haven't seen the trailers for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I would click away now. I don't want to spoil it for you. But as many of you know, a rather popular character from this show appears in the trailer, and there's even been speculation it is actually the same character based on the wheelchair that he's using. I think you know who we're talking about. Now, obviously, we're going to have to wait for the series. It's about a year out, so I don't expect anything right away, but probably before the end of 2022, we'll have a trailer and a lot of art from the show. I'm sure it's going to be a big hit, and lots of fans like me are super excited. What do you guys think? Are you excited to see the X-Men return in X-Men 97? And do you see any way this show fits into the MCU canon? Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you're not getting any updates. Peace.